So today we're debuting my dig site randomization mods for JWE3. I did the expanded dig site randomization mods for JWE2 that added a variety of new ways to randomize the research trees. JWE3's research trees are much more freeform, so at the start here we're only putting out a couple of different mods for the dig site randomization, which also doesn't exist in base game at all in 3. And then I'll expand on this in the future, at least that's the plan. First, we'll go through and show off the two different mods that I've made, and at the end, I'll have install instructions that apply to both mods. Now, I should also point out, because dig site randomization is not implemented in JWE3 normally, you have no choice but to use dig site randomization if you install this mod. There is not a toggle. It is just automatically applied always, specifically in Sandbox and only in Sandbox. This is what the structured dig site randomization looks like. It takes the mechanic from JW2 of having the animals locked behind star rating and applies it to this game. So this mod randomizes the animals within 6 broad categories with no concern within that category for the animal statistics. You have your small herbivores, which are, Lystrosaurus, Psittaco, your Pachycephalosaurs, your Nithomimosaurs. You have your armored herbivores, which are your Ankylosaurs, Stegosaurids, and Ceratopsians. You have your large herbivores, which are your sauropods and ornithopods. You have small carnivores and tiny carnivores merged together, and then you have medium and large carnivores merged together. All the marine animals and pterosaurs are also merged together. So you randomize marines and pterosaurs between these 5 nodes. You randomize small carnivores between these few nodes, medium and large between these few nodes, including the omnivore and piscivore dig sites as carnivore dig sites. I opted not to try to redo the UI here. I just decide to leave it alone for now. And then, yeah, your random starters are randomized essentially in the same way they are in base game. Well, are distributed in the same way they are in base game, but randomized. But in this mode, I give you an extra small carnivore because there's a lot of small carnivores, especially with the tinies included. Now, the fact that the sauropods and hadrosaurs are randomized together does mean you can get a starting scenario like this, where you end up with a sauropod amongst your starters, but the dig site cost being prohibitive, it's not as imbalanced as it might seem. Everything unlocks between 0 and 3 stars. I never really liked having 4-star unlocks in JWE2, so I plateaued that here a little sooner. The so-called gotcha mode dig site randomization, and what that does, this is what you'll see if it's correctly installed. It gives you a research tree based around one animal in each node for a roster of 30 randomized animals. This is essentially preserving the theming of the research nodes. So, like, you have 2 marine nodes, 3 pterosaur nodes, one of which is the Asdarchids, one of which is the medium size, and one of which is the small pterosaurs, right? So you get one at random from each of those categories. The starters also are given in the same way, a scavenger, a small carnivore, and then on this node, in base game, you get a hadrosaur and then 2 small herbivores. In this mod, to get the roster size to 30, and because of the overabundance of ceratopsians, you also start with a random ceratopsian. And then every other node here is a single animal. So this gives you a nice distribution of herbivores and carnivores based on what they've deemed the research tree should look like. To download the files, just go to Nexus Mods. You'll find the 2 different versions of the mod on the website, dig site randomization gotcha mode, dig site randomization structured mode. Click the one that interests you, and then you just got to go to the Files tab and manual download. To install these mods, you need to find your Steam Apps Common JWE3 Win64 Oval Data folder, which should look like this. You need to download ACSE, and then you need to download whichever dig site mod you want to use. You can't use these together, of course. They're redundant. You take the ACSE file, you extract that. You should have these files 1 layer deep inside the folder structure here. This goes here, just like this. Same with the dig site mod. You should have the int and the manifest just 1 layer deep, and then this folder also gets dragged here. And this is all you have to do. This works in game. That's it. Installing is pretty simple as long as you extract the directories correctly.